So, follow me. It's a 10-minute walk, I think, something like that, and we'll start over there. It's a view to the Gaza border, and we'll talk about Nahal Oz and about the history, and then we'll let you see all the kibbutz. Okay?
Thank you. On the way, you can ask us whatever you want. My name
Yes,
is
feel
Yael,
free.
so we can start informal if you would like.
Do you mind just kind of explaining like a little bit about who you are and your life here before, just so they have a picture?
Yeah. I will start. My name is
Go ahead.
Yael Raz-Lahiani or Lahiani. My husband works at the US, so we have to have like an American name also. So it's Lahiani, and in Hebrew it's Lahiani. I was born and raised here in Nahal Oz. My mom, she's 80. She was 84 last week. And my sister live here, and I raised my 3 kids here, and I have 2 adopted kids that are not living here, but they're big. I left Nahal Oz at 2000 and came back at 2007. I came back when it was already under attack all the time. Again, not like October 7th, but Nahal Oz was attacked for the first time October. After the 50s and the 60s, it was attacked ever since 2000. I was the spokeswoman of Nahal Oz for 5 years. I left. At October 7th, the man that replaced me, not Matan, another man, that replaced me have like an emotional crisis, and he felt like he couldn't do the job. It was totally different than what I ever done before. Deal with October 7th, with the families, with the hostages, with the media, with the community, with a lot of sensitivity all around. So I did it for a couple of months, and because Nahal Oz and Kibbutz is a democratic society, we went to an election, and lucky for us, Matan was elected to be the spokesman of Nahal Oz at the moment. So usually he do most of the groups, sometimes I replace them, and when it's important to us, we are both coming. So that was my way to say that we are we are not happy for many months, but we are very pleased and thank you for being here. I appreciate your involvement in Nahal Oz, resilience and rebuilding. And especially, I don't know about each one of you, but I know about the organization that's really involved with the fight to bring back the hostages. Until 2 weeks ago, we have 2 hostages in Gaza Strip. Now we have 1. Tzachi came back, and we buried him last week, but we are still fighting for Brim Iran and of course all 58. So I really appreciate your help with this fight of Israel and the families and the communities. So this is 2 words about me. And you can ask me whatever you want, I'm listening. I give like 10 minutes of history just for you to understand the location and the influence and the process. Nahal Oz was established actually twice. For the first time at 1951. 1951, the Israeli state is 3 years old. All the young came out from the war for Germany or other Europe countries. But being part of the IDF, it was a huge proud. So when they finished their army service after 3 years, some of them didn't want to release or didn't want to be officers. They just want to be more involved and be more active. So part of Ben-Gurion's vision was to establish the Negev. And the idea was to build a small army base next to the border to make some agriculture, and that's the way to declare the borders. So a group of soldiers came over in 1951, started to do agriculture. It was very difficult at the beginning, and protect the area. After 2 years, they are 23, like all of us. They wanted to have kids and have family. No, I'm kidding. But that was the time. So they couldn't bring kids into an army base. And at Simchat Torah, which is for this year, October 7th, 1953, they declare a kibbutz. Okay, so Simchat Torah 2023 was the 70th anniversary of Nahal Oz. It declared a kibbutz. A few weeks after that, we lost the first soldier members out in the fields. What's going on in this area is there is a lot of Fedayun, the terror unit that came from, especially from Egypt, but some of them also from Gaza Strip. There was no border back then between Egypt and Gaza Strip. It's the same. But Egypt is not doing anything to develop a Gaza Strip, so it's become like a refugee camp that's become bigger and bigger all the time. And when there is refugees and there is poverty, there is terror. So a Fedayun unit came over from the fields to attack the workers in Nahal Oz fields. When you see someone cross the border back then at the 50s, you don't know if he came over to steal some food for the kids, for the family, or came to do a terror attack. So between 1953 to 1968, we are losing 6 members from the kibbutz during terror attack. That was the beginning of this place. When after Yom Kippur war ended, at 1973, it became a lot easier over here because Israel controlled Gaza Strip and not Egypt. And at the end of the 70s, 80s, the beginning of the 90s, there is a totally different situation than what we're familiar with today. And we could come in and out from Gaza Strip freely, feel no threat, no threat at all. It was safe. Okay, there is some attack, but it was safe. I am, as a kid, remember the way to the beach over there, and when we used to eat or to do some shopping and whatever we needed. If you have to go to Ashkelon, it's through Gaza Strip because it's shorter. Okay, yeah. That was the normal life. At the 90s, there is 2 parallel processes. On one hand, there is the peace process and Oslo agreement and so. And for Nahal Oz, it's a huge hope because if it's going to be quiet over here, we can develop as a community, industry and economically and whatever we can. And at the same time, there was a big suicide attack at the big cities, suicide attack at the big cities. Most of the terrorists didn't come for Gaza Strip, but every time there is an attack in Haifa or Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, it doesn't matter, they close the border. And that's the period of time that we started to feel, again, there is a border and it's clear. And there's more friends and more friends and more soldiers. At 2000, Arafat went to the UN to declare a Palestinian state. He says that the peace process is not going anywhere, so he's not waiting to Israel anymore. He's going to the UN to declare a Palestinian state out of international pressure, which is a nice way to say that US put a veto. He didn't declare a Palestinian state, and from that point he cannot go back to Gaza Strip. And the meaning for us, for Nahal Oz, is that the point that Hamas, that already built a net over there, have an opportunity and is take advantage of this opportunity. From that point, Hamas control Gaza Strip, even though it's not formal yet. And at the end of 2000, the first homemade missile fell here in Nahal Oz, not far from where we are. At the beginning, we thought it's nothing. Okay, it's one missile, it will disappear. At 2003, the head of housing in Nahal Oz, in the government, came to Nahal Oz for a routine visit. Probably was an election year or something, like almost 2 years in Israel. And it was a very noisy day, like a lot of the days back then in 2003. And he says, you cannot raise kids like this. So he go back to the government and make a decision to attach a safe room to each house in Nahal Oz. Now that was back at 2003. When we will arrive to October 7th and talk about what happened at that days, most of the casualties that we have here in Nahal Oz was from that neighborhood. That the safe room was attached to the houses because it's an old building. If we're talking about safety, we thought that will be the end of the community. When you lose a child, you cannot recover from it. But we made a huge effort as a community to rebuild ourselves, as a person, as families, as a community. At the end of a protective edge, we were 300 people here. At October 6, 10 years after that, 2023, there was 470 people over here, preparing the anniversary that was supposed to be at October 7th. We brought new families, pre-army program, student program, that can be part of the community when there is some difficult time. That a bit about the history. Matan, take it from here. Whatever you need, I'm here.
Okay, so now let's talk a bit about October 7. After we see the base that near. It's not the base where the observer sits. It's another base. But let's start from what we see. The closest neighborhood to Nahal Oz, it's Sajayeh. It's only 700 meters from where we are right now, from the fence, which it makes Nahal Oz the third kibbutz that's closest to the Gaza Strip. But if we go door to door, like the last door in Sajayeh to the first door in Nahal Oz, it's only 800 meters. I don't know how to say it in miles.
Half a mile.
Half a mile.
Half a mile.
Exactly.
So you can understand it's very, very close by. Sajayeh is mainly a terrorist neighborhood. It's a neighborhood of Gaza City, and a lot of Hamas terrorists used to sit in Sajayeh. And on October 7th, approximately 200 terrorists came through the fence, through these fields, and entered Nahal Oz. It was in 3 waves of attacks. So the first wave came to the newest neighborhood of Nahal Oz. It's a neighborhood that the people that came to live in this neighborhood was mainly families with kids, and they moved to their houses only 6 months before the attack. So the neighborhood was very, very new. This was the first wave, and after this wave, we have 2 more waves that came actually from all across Nahal Oz, and mainly to the neighborhood where Yael talks about. This is the neighborhood that's very close to where we are right now. It's a neighborhood which it's not a new neighborhood, so the houses are old, and the terrorists could enter easily to the safe house, to the safe rooms. And we finished the day. I can talk to you about more details about this day if you want, if you will ask me. But we finished this day with 15 people from the kibbutz that got murdered.
16.
Yeah, we finished that day with 15.
Yeah. That day we finished with 15, yeah.
And with 8 hostages. 2 of them returned after 2 weeks. They were American civilians, and we don't know how come that Hamas released them so fast, but we were very happy. They were not from the kibbutz. They were visitors that came to celebrate. How old is
What, the 7th anniversary? No.
No, they came to celebrate of
Look, the mother is 83, 82, so I guess 40, 50 and 20 something.
Yes, so they came here because the holiday and the 7th anniversary of the kibbutz, and they kidnapped from here. And we had another 6 hostages. One of them is a student from Tanzania that came to live in Nahal Oz only 2 weeks before the attack. He got murdered that day. He worked with the cows. He got murdered and Hamas kidnapped his body. And the 5 of them were from Nahal Oz. 3 of them released after 51 days. We talk about Dafna and the lion Yakim. Dafna, she's 15 years old, and Ella, she's 8 years old. They murdered their parents.
The father.
The father, and yes, it's like
It's a
the
second marriage, so the father and his wife.
Yeah, the father and his wife, and their stepbrother. And they kidnapped them to Gaza. They released in the first deal after 51 days. And they also released Elma Avram. She is 84 years old. And she immediately after she returned, she rushed into Soroka Hospital because she returned in a very, very bad condition. And nobody of us can imagine what it's like for someone in her age to be 51 days in Hamas captivity. She's fine, she's doing well, but you can still see the effects of of what it's like to be in Hamas captivity, and she was only 51, the only. But the doctor said that if she were there another 1 or 2 days, she probably wouldn't make it. And we, the two that still, they're not still there, but Tzachi and Omri remain in Gaza after the first deal. They're both kidnapped alive, and we knew that there was a signal of life from both of them. But as the time goes by, Tzachi got murdered in Hamas captivity, and his body returned, like Yael said at the beginning, 2 weeks ago. We buried him next to his daughter, which also murdered on October 7th. And the one that's left that's still there is Omri Miran. Omri is 47 years old. In the end of this month, he will be 48 years old. We hope that
one day before Passover.
Yeah, we hope that he will return until then. Yes,
Yeah.
And it will be a big celebration of Omri return to his wife, and he has two little daughters, Roni and Alma. Roni is 3.5 years old. Alma is going to be 2 years old next week, something like that.
Yes. It's become to a situation. Alma is already lived more time without knowing her father
Yes.
than knowing her father, and in a second, Roni is getting there also. So it's really they're talking to a picture. Lisha is very active at the social media, so you can see a lot of movies that she's bringing on about the daughters talking to Omri's
To a picture.
poster. Yeah.
But this is the father she knows. But Roni knows what it's like to be with the father, and she asked about Omri all the time. Lisha says that every morning she asked her, "Mommy, did you manage to bring daddy's back?" And Lisha always have to tell her that no, and it's really heartbreaking. And this is the main thing that we are doing right now, is to tell everybody how important it is to get Omri back alive, because he have no time, and we saw what happened to Tzachi while he was in Gaza, and Omri have to come back alive. He have to come back to his daughters.
What is his name? It's
Sorry.
still over there?
Omri
Omri
Miran. O-M-R-I.
Thank you.
M. What is it, Miran?
O-M-I-R.
M-I-R.
O-M-I-R.
I'll show you his photos in one of the posters.
Yeah,
later.
and we
Thank you.
Yeah. I also been asked about the observers of Nahal Oz base, which you probably heard, or also just in Gaza. So Nahal Oz base camp it's not inside the kibbutz, but it's very, very close to the kibbutz. You can't see it from here, but if you will see...
Next to the front gate, when you arrive with the bus to the yellow gate,
Yes.
it's really close.
Yeah, you can see
The
that, like
tanks?
the hill, so it's like
Where the tanks were?
after the hill.
I guess
Yes.
so. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
seen
Next to where
it,
the
but
tanks
I cannot see them anymore. It's like a tree for me.
Right.
And there was a lot of fights in this base. 53 soldiers murdered in the base, and a lot of them kidnapped, included the observers, which return in this deal.
Being so close to the border, many soldiers knew Nahal Oz, and we knew them. So the observers used to come over to Nahal Oz, have
All
a
the
tour
time.
with our security guard that was murdered also that day. And they knew where the swimming pool and then the grocery store, and if they needed something, they can contact someone from the kibbutz and get some help at laundry or have package or something like that. So I'm not familiar with any of the observer besides one that was murdered or was kidnapped, but it's have some kind of connection that you develop when someone served next to you so many times. They live after 18 months or 2 years, but there is some connections, and a lot of them tells about how Nahal Oz was important for them. And now that IDF released some of the information that they collected, so you can actually hear them at the net. We have to protect Nahal Oz, we have to protect Nahal Oz. They felt like this is their mission. They were not enough aware to what's going on in the environment, but their first focus was to Nahal Oz. We have to protect Nahal Oz. Again, because we are so close to the border and because they know us so well. So there's kind of connection. Now we have a connection with their families and some of the soldiers' families that fight over here. It's
important for us to stay in touch with our families.
We're trying to build our story, and the story is connected together. Our new story as a community, and we cannot make it like two different stories. We have to find a way to keep it one big story.
Do you still have access to all of this? Like the border's
Yeah.
way over there, right? So you can still get to your reservoir and all the fields.
If you saw this a giant wall before you enter the kibbutz, it said Ad Tel Machor, which translates to until the last four.
Tell him.
It's a good like.
It's like, איך אומרים אחרי שעה? It's like the last line where the tractor is walking, we're gonna be there. That's
Right.
the meaning. Okay, there's in Hebrew, there's someone that said that back.
A long time
And
ago.
it's like this is why God invented Google.
Yeah.
So
No, I
this
think
is
it's
the
Gordon,
motto of the
but I'm not
kibbutz.
sure.
We want to walk our fields until the border. And it was very difficult at the start of this war because there were a lot of tanks here that drove in the fields, and it was a big mess. But it's very important for us to still walk in the fields and to walk.
One of the day, the head of the agriculture, we have two heads. One of the agriculture, the fields and the orchard, and one for the dairy farm. So one of the days, the one that responsible to the fields came over. It was, I don't know, after 2 weeks. And look, this is a war zone. It's not like now, okay? There's tank and missile and all over. And started to prepare the tools. And we didn't have tools because they steal most of our tractors, but whatever we can find. And then he get a phone call for the government. Someone from the government says, don't walk. We will give you insurance, just make it quiet. And says, I cannot. I'm a farmer. The terrorists try to hurt my community, my friends, my people. If I can fix this, I try to fix. So he walked from the beginning knowing that he don't know if he can pick whatever he will plant. We have some of it. At the moment, you can see all the green fields, it's a wheat. So if you would come in like 2 months, it will become
be yellow.
Yellow. Yeah.
And then it will become pita.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll continue.
Yeah. Live.
They want to see Milty Bone's house, like the
Go ahead. Come on.
Follow.
רוצה לעבור?
I told few of you. On October 7th, we had a special unit of the police that were here in Nahal Oz. Not because the IDF realized that October 7th is going to happen or something like that, but because Nahal Oz is very close to the border, and until to 2021, where the army used to sit here all the time. After 2021, we finished building like the fence that was supposed to protect us. And the IDF decided that okay, we now have the fence, so the army, you don't need the army to sit here inside the Nahal Oz. But sometimes the army came here 2 weeks before October 7th. There were kind of protests on Gaza. So the IDF just decided to bring a special unit that will be here until the end of the holidays. And they came here. This is where they sleep. You can see the sukkah that they built. It's the same sukkah that they built 1.5 years ago. So they came here, and when October 7th started, they were here. And this is the lucky of Nahal Oz, because many kibbutzim didn't have something that could fight the terrorists, but we have. And when the terrorists came, the group that sits here fight them. The first wave of the attacks, there were kind of 50 Nukhba terrorists, and the first wave finished after 1 hour when the unit that sits here managed to stop them. But they had, the fight was bad, and 5 of them got injured. One of them got killed during the attack. And after this, when the second and the third wave came, there were not so much that could prevent them from the attacks. But they still fight. 5 of them that will still manage to fight the fight with two members of the kibbutz. The security squad of the kibbutz, we don't have weapons in our homes because, like I told you, the IDF built the fence, the government built the fence, and they decided, okay, you don't need to hold weapons in your house. When something will happen, you will have the time to go and bring the weapons. But as you know, we didn't have the time. Only one of us was with weapons, with a gun, and 2 members of the kibbutz joined the special unit, and they had two vehicles, and they decided, okay, we now want to make the feel like there is a lot of army inside the kibbutz. So what they did, they go inside the vehicles and they drive all over the kibbutz, drive and shoot. And the terrorists thought that, okay, maybe there is a lot of soldiers right here, but actually there were only 7 of them that could fight.
Wow.
And 7 of them held the kibbutz and managed to save a lot of life until it was 1:30 p.m. When the other unit from outside the kibbutz came to Nahal Oz and managed to fight here. And this is the main story why Nahal Oz is looking different from Be'eri and Nir Oz and Far Aza. We don't have a lot of destruction here because of these guys that sit here and because of our guys that fight. Yeah, something that you want to add?
No.
Do you, is that a kind of a community rule that you don't have weapons in your homes, or has that changed now?
It's not a community rule, it's it was the IDF rule.
Yeah.
And we now wanted it to change, of course, because we can see what can happen, and we are so close to the border. We told the IDF during the years that it's not make any sense that we are not holding weapons in our homes.
Yes.
In our homes. But they were afraid of stealing and stuff like this.
The IDF response was, the moment something will happen, we will be here.
Right.
Okay, so it's kind of bizarre for me, I guess, for Matan also at the moment to complain about it, okay, because there's so many failures, and now it's just one of them. But that was the assumption. I mean, you don't have to be a fighter. That's the IDF job, and the moment something will happen, we will be here.
Right, and now has it changed? Are you more armed?
At the moment, we have a reserve unit that in the kibbutz with weapon all the time.
Okay.
And that's supposed to stay. That I hope, not for life, but I hope for many years.
Yeah.
And also part of our asking from the IDF and from the government is to change the way they protect the kibbutzim next to the border.
Right.
We are very close. You see.
Yeah.
I mean. Okay.
It's 700 meters.
Yeah.
I'm a runner, but those who's not runner can be here in less than 5 minutes.
Right.
Okay, so imagine yourself, there is someone cut the fence.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Okay, that's happened that day. So even when the special unit was turning around, they didn't know out of the hundreds that were here who they should, focus, because they came to kill or not to steal.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
A couple important things to add on that. Like first time I was in the U.S. and got into Bass Pro Shops, right? I was in shock because the weapons you sell there, like I'm on camera. I'm not gonna say whatever I want to say, right? But basically, like I saw something that looked like a sniper rifle for me. Like seriously.
Right.
In Israel, in order to get a gun, right, first of all, it can be only a pistol, and it will be issued by the government. You need to go through a procedure in order to get permission. In areas like this that are close to the border, there usually is a first response team that will have the permission to have rifles. In that case, they were in the armory, right? That's the.
exactly.
So this was the situation.
Right.
Regarding
There are only
that,
two men with the weapon in their home. That's the security guard and his assistant. And the security guard was murdered at the first half an hour, 40 minutes.
Okay.
So we are very lucky to have this.
Yeah. Thank you.
can you tell a word about where they're standing?
If you standing in a place where it's still black, there was a fire over here. Nahal Oz wasn't suffering so much from fire, but this area, in this area, they burned vehicle over here, they burned vehicle in a Mir Tibon neighborhood, and they burned the dairy farm and the food for the cows. When we left the kibbutz, I left my home, not the kibbutz, at 10 p.m. I stepped out from my home. I'm going to show you where my home is. It's on the way to Mir Tibon. And it was like fire. We saw there's nothing left. And it's all because they burned the cow food. And it's make a lot of fire and a lot of smoke. Okay, but it was really, really walking in a war zone. The smell were everywhere. And I don't know if you heard about it, but part of their activity was to take the tires, the vehicle's tires out, to light them and to throw them into the houses. What happened in Nahal Oz, they didn't have the time to do that because the special unit was walking around. But when I left, I don't remember a lot from the day, but when I left my home at 10 p.m., I was with soldiers, with my kids, of course, and I was like looking at my cars, it's next to my front door, and I said, how come the door open? I didn't understand what's going on. And I remember seeing the tires next to the car. I didn't understand anything about it. It took me days to understand what I saw. But that was the story, and of course the car was. I didn't took her, but I couldn't drive for months. Okay, but it's
Right.
like just for you to understand how much damage, small damage. My family is okay. I'm blessed for that. But how many small damage was on the way to get to a safe place?
You're saying you were that close. Your door was open, the tires were off your car, they were getting ready to light them and roll them
that
into.
was trying to get into my home many, many times. We were sure he was inside because some of the construction of our home, we heard them. And we didn't understand how come he is not arriving to the safe room. What I know now, I told you before, my husband worked at the US. So because of that, not because of the security situation, I put a specific electricity lock in my door, in my front door. And the terrorist couldn't open the door. We tried many times, he couldn't. So we get into like a small room that I have inside, and we can hear what's going on in the home. If he would go another 3 meters, he would find a glass door and get in. But he didn't. He tried from the windows, he tried from the front, he didn't. When we get out from the safe room for the first time, it was around 6 p.m. The soldiers called out for me, Yael, get out, Yael, get out. I didn't know, but my sister wrote me an SMS. I didn't have Wi-Fi. SMS, they calling you, answer them. And I went down from the stairs, and I saw there was many glasses because they broke the window. So I talked to the soldiers like this, okay? And then my son, my 19-year-old son, says to me, look, I have a slippers next to the front door. Can I get them? I look at the officers, and the officers say, yes, you can. You can let them take the slippers. He opened the front door, and then he closed the front door. And back then, he's 18 years old, okay? And he says to me, Mom, there's a dead man. I said, what? What a dead man? Someone you know? He said, no. The soldiers, no. So who is it? I said, I don't know, I think he's a terrorist. And I look at the officer like, how come you didn't tell me? There was a dead man next to my front door. And after that, a friend of us from the community that was traveling with the special unit told us that he killed him. After I wrote SMS to his wife, there's someone at my home. He came over and killed him next to the front door.
Wow.
So that's how me and my family were saved. Okay, let's see some houses. Gonna be here. Okay, a new building, a new kindergarten, a new member club for the 18, and whatever a community needs to show to the world, this is our winning. We are not winning with guns. We are winning with kids, with agriculture. Thank you. With new houses. Okay, that's our values. That's our way of life. That's our winning. So any kind of a
It's all
dollar
have
that
to
can
be
help us
better than it was before.
before, to bring new families, to make young adults want to
After what
stay
we
here.
went through.
Absolutely.
We have a joke over here that you used to have, you still have a pub. Lame,
Okay.
okay, old. In winter time it's stinking. Okay, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, I want all Matan. All the friends will come over to him. I don't want him to go to Sderot. To be able to do that, I need to be attractive. The first group of terrorists came over here, but I think they didn't get into any of the houses. One house, Skupinski.
Skupinski and Cherry.
And two houses. If you would go to the other side of the kibbutz with the old houses, they get into almost, in a specific neighborhood, almost anyone. Also, we didn't talk about it, but when they get to the old neighborhood, which is next to the gate where you came from, the house, one of the first house they get into, they took 17 years old boy named Tomer that lived there, and they took him with them to knock on the doors, open the doors, otherwise they would kill me.
And
So
that they
the
will
reason
live stream it all the
Yeah.
time in the Facebook,
Yeah.
so
So
everybody
that's the
could see it.
reason that they could get in easier to these houses,
Yeah.
but also those who try to fight and hold the door, like Tzachi and Mayan Idan, that was both, Mayan was murdered that day and Tzachi after that. She was killed because they shoot the door and the bullets just came through the door and killed her. So this house was suffered from many terrorists. Our security guard was killed next to his house right here. But lucky for us, they didn't get into most of the houses. Otherwise, again, it was...
Yeah, but there were a lot of fights here at the start of this day.
Right.
Right where we stand, it looked like an entire war zone. It was a war zone. It looked like. And you asked about Amir Tibon's. I guess some of you read this book, so this is his house. You can see it from here. And this is also the place where I told you about the one soldier from the special unit that got killed during the attack. So he killed right in front of his door. You can see the flag.
Yeah.
This is where he killed.
Are these homes that the shutters are down? Are there people in them, or does that usually mean that nobody's home?
Right now, nobody's home.
No, you gave you. There's one family
Yes.
here. And not all the family, just the husband that works in the kibbutz in the security also. But most of the families from Nahal Oz didn't come back.
Oh.
We're supposed to come back at summertime.
Okay.
And in this specific neighborhood. This nearby, but not here.
Right.
Out of the decision of the government that we have to come back at the summertime, the first thing as a community we decided to do is to take care of the houses, that people have a place to be. So we didn't take care of the public building, kindergarten, education, whatsoever. Probably we will not make it on time. But living as a refugee for 1.5 years, Yesterday, someone asked me I don't remember if something asked me something about the future, and it said the one thing I used to do at the last year and a half is not planning anything. It doesn't matter. So I don't know what to answer.
Yeah.
We will arrive and see what happens. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of questions still open, a lot of fears, a lot of things to deal with. As you said, we had a funeral just less than 2 weeks ago.
We're still waiting for Omri to come. And it will be very difficult to return to live here in Nahal Oz, still in Gaza. We hope that this won't happen.
Would you say that's the hardest part? Like having him, obviously you've dealt with so many tragic things. Loss of community or him being over there?
Yeah.
Not only for Nahal Oz, I think for all of Gaza envelope and for the kibbutzim that affected mostly on October 7th. We really have a hard time to return and to rebuild and to do something in this area with them still there.
And every Friday, we go to the Hostages Square and doing Kabbalat Shabbat over there as a community from the first months. Okay, now we gave up so many things that we used to do back in the past. Okay, Friday for me it's day to be with the family at home, cooking, and it's just one example. So when you have to rebuild the all kibbutz, you have to be to make place in your heart, in your brain, in your everyday life. We are not there. We have a lot to do. Again, we cannot plan, we just live day by day and see what happens. We have like 5 minutes, so those who have questions, hurry up. Tomer didn't survive. His mother also was murdered, and her husband was the one, the 9/11 father. He was also murdered. He was bleeding to death. He was shooting his leg when they break into the home, and we didn't find the IDF didn't find another bullet, so he probably was bleeding to death for hours. No one reaching up to him. So they all three buried together, and the 9/11 went back to their mother that is not from Nahal Oz. Look, my son is 19 years old. He finished high school 2 months before October 7th. And in Nahal Oz there is a tradition when a group finish high school together from Nahal Oz, they're doing a party. Again, a lame party in our lame park. Okay, but it's local, it's belongs to us. And in my son group there were 6 that finished high school, did a picture together, did a party together, and 2 of them were murdered. One is Mayani Dan, the other is Chelet Zohar, and Tomer is 1 year under, because they're a small group, they connected, like a multi-age to those above and those under. I'm blessed, so none of my family was murdered that day, but I lost many friends, and I asked to teach my kids how to deal with grief when they were 18, 14, and 12. And sick until today, I do not have the answer. And I can see how the rest of my son group, the 4 that was left, so connected. They're not moving to one place to another without each other. We went to the Shiva of Tzachi last week. They went, all 3 of them together.
Shiva is the morning.
The week that we sit after we bury someone. So all 3 of them stay together. There's something about losing someone that you rebuild the connections around him. But over here, there's so many that you have to rebuild the connection. And it will take us years to rebuild the strength and the ability to smile again. to make the kids feel okay. Okay, thinking of the day my son will want to travel abroad or want to will finally have a friend, a girlfriend that come over to my home or wants to get married, and I want him to feel this is okay. I want him to go to a party and feel this is okay. It's a process. And he's 19. This is I just supposed to go to parties like day and night.
I want to thank you. I know coming down here is not easy. Telling your story is excruciating, but that is so important for everyone here to hear it. And I want to really thank you for sharing your heart.
Thank you.
3 messages. Hostages, always, wherever you can. Second is bring our story out to the world. Don't let the evil control the story. Okay? And come again in 2 years, in 3 years, in 10 years, so we can see a kibbutz, kids around, and animals, and mess, and
This will be our winning.
yeah. Winning. Victory, picture, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No. Too embarrassing. Thank you.
בירושלים.